Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this week's Alibaba.com virtual fireside chat. I am Kate Anderson, Director of Marketing for Alibaba.com North America, and today I'm joined by Angel Mills of Angel Mills Brand Strategy. Angel is a community cultivator, brand strategist, business coach, and people-based marketer. She explores how humans communicate and connect through physical and digital space. Angel helps emerging entrepreneurs form thriving client communities through strategic marketing services, education, and coaching. Throughout her career, Angel has partnered with several brands, including Architectural Accents, Certified Africa, Georgia Organics, and the University of Pennsylvania Weiss Tech House. Angel currently resides in Atlanta, from where she joins us today. And Angel is here to discuss how SMBs can meet today's economic challenges by establishing a strategy for virtual and online events. She's going to be providing tips for getting started and how you can make your own events and your event attendance as successful as possible. And this is particularly relevant as in the past few months, so many live events have been postponed or canceled due to COVID-19. So I'm really excited to welcome Angel today. So Angel, why don't you say hi to the audience and talk a little bit more about your marketing experience and how you've worked with SMBs.
Absolutely. So first of all, thank you so much, Kate, and thank you to the Alibaba.com team for having me today. Thank you all for joining. Yes, as Kate said in my bio, I do work with small business owners. I assist them with marketing and branding services, coaching, and education. And so a lot of my work as of late has been focusing on how to use digital branded events to grow your contact list, build relationships with customers or potential customers, and then ultimately convert them to actual customers. So right now, digital events are so important because we're not able to develop relationships with potential customers like we were in the past. And so a lot of you, especially if you had a physical business or you relied upon going to trade shows or any sort of in-person events, you can probably feel that that struggle right now. And you may be struggling with figuring out how to connect with your potential customers or your current customers, and digital events are an excellent way to do so. First of all, they're low cost. So before, if we were hosting events, we needed to get a venue. I personally used to host a lot of in-person events last year and the past couple of years, so I know how expensive they can be. And since I've kind of switched my personal business model to doing online events, I definitely recognize that the cost is different in a great way. And literally all I have to pay for is some sort of hosting platform and some filming equipment, which is pretty low cost compared to doing a major event. Secondly, you're able to add value to new potential customers in a way that will help convert them to paid customers. And you're able to do that at scale. So as opposed to in-person events where you're limited by location, digital events, you can expand and introduce people to your business all over the world. So that's a big reason why you're seeing so many brands coming online and why it's something that is accessible to small businesses and something I definitely recommend that they do if they're not already.
Great. So we're going to be taking questions from the audience today. So if you see the questions panel on GoToWebinar and you have a question for Angel or myself, just put it in there and we'll address it during today's discussion. So first things, people, how do you get started? What are the first three things you recommend for SMBs looking to make up for the loss of in-person events with virtual events? What are the first three things you recommend they do to get started?
So I think the first things you want to do is definitely sit with your team, or if you're a team of one, sit down and take some time to think about what your goals are moving forward. How are your business services or products delivery? How's your offering changed by this quarantine period? You want to establish what it is that you want to communicate. with new and potential, or excuse me, current and potential customers. So you kind of want to have that figured out on your end first. The next thing you want to do is think about how you want to distinguish yourself in your industry now. Because again, as I said before, you're changing. So many of us are changing our business models now. We're not delivering our offering the way that we did in the past. So we want to understand how we want to be seen now. And that would definitely influence the types of events you choose. The third thing I would definitely suggest people to do is check out Eventbrite and see what some of the events are that are currently popular. Eventbrite has something called trending searches on their platform that actually shows you what are the top event phrases that people are searching for right now. So that will give you some insight on the types of events that are popular right now, and you can figure out how you can do those types of events for your brand and to connect with your audience. It's also an opportunity to see what other businesses and brands are doing and how possibly you could adapt those ideas to fit your audience.
So I know you mentioned cost savings as a big advantage that virtual events have over in-person events. What are some other advantages that our audience should consider when they're thinking about moving to virtual events?
So I think one thing that's very important to remember right now, and we hear this all the time in the news, but we're in unprecedented times. So that means people are looking for answers, and they're looking for people who can answer them. So virtual events are an opportunity for businesses, whether you're B2B or B2C, to actually establish yourself as a thought leader in your industry. This is especially important for B2Bs because a lot of people don't really understand or know how B2B companies are responding to this pandemic and how they are still serving customers at this time. So that's a gap that your virtual events can definitely meet. So you want to be thinking about what are the questions that people have relating to my industry at this moment, and how can I develop content that addresses those questions? So you're seeing Alibaba do this right now by having this webinar. They see that there's a lot of questions that business owners are having right now about how they can brand and market their business during this time period, and they're creating content that addresses that need. So it's really about adding value. People are going to remember who added value to them during this time period. And so when you're adding that value, you're not only engaging people who are already customers or already familiar with your business, but you're engaging brand new people that could potentially become customers or potentially work with you. So it's very important to think about that advantage as far as establishing yourself as a leader in the industry as well.
Thanks, Angel. I know most of our customers at Alibaba.com are B2Bs, and what they tell us is that having that digital storefront is almost like a 24/7 trade show that people can stop by their booth and learn more about their products. So it's definitely relevant to our customer audience. So specifically in your customers that you work with and your SMB community, what kind of success stories have you seen with virtual events? And can you give us some examples of someone that you know that's been successful using these tactics?
So someone that I'm working with right now that I've seen be successful is a young woman. She's a real estate agent. And so something that she's starting to introduce to her business model is actually hosting home buying seminars, which you may see some real estate agents do this online, or excuse me, do this in person, but she's actually doing this online as a means to educate potential home buyers about the actual home buying process, and then provide them the opportunity to work with her to understand additional information and then eventually utilize her to actually purchase their home. So I know we often hear the term funnel, and it's a very intimidating term for a lot of people because it sounds very complicated. But when we think about online events, they're a major part of a lot of organizations' marketing funnel. And so what that means is what the funnel is the customer journey, and how you take a customer from being introduced to who you are as a business, and you actually take them to becoming a paying customer with you. So with this real estate agent, she's utilizing these introductory webinars as a first touch point for potential customers. She's going to provide that value to them by educating them about the home buying process. And then she's going to eventually aim to actually convert that person through to an actual customer. So after that webinar, she's sending them follow-up emails. She's sending them possibly text messages so that she can stay in contact with them. They're on the top of her mind. She's on the top of their mind as they're beginning to think about purchasing a home, and they're thinking about who they may work with to do that. So those are the ways in which I would say probably most brands are aiming to use these events. A lot of brands have free events, so they're able to get a lot of registrants to them. So what they're able to do with those registrants is they're able to get that contact information from them to re-engage them later. But then again, they're able to actually have the opportunity, if that person actually attends the virtual event, to make a connection with them, to relate with them. I've seen some brands like Spotify right now. They are actually doing, it's called a Ask Me Anything style event. So I've seen some large companies do that. So basically with those events, you have someone who is in executive leadership at the organization. That's what Spotify has done. They'll have someone in executive leadership, and people can join on this free live chat and basically ask this person anything about tech, about Spotify. So it's a way for Spotify to talk about its services, talking about updates with the platform, what people can expect, maybe address questions on how people can better utilize the platform, as well as to establish themselves as a thought leader in the space of how streaming services in general are adapting to the pandemic. And so that's the way that they're able to increase, of course, build those relationships. And then I'm sure they get some sort of increase in adoption from having those types of events.
Great. And I've been a marketer for a long time, so I can relate to the discussion about the funnel and how an event is one touch point that you have with a potential customer, and that once you have their contact information, you can continue to reach out to them and share content with them, which is particularly relevant, I think, for our B2B audience, because a B2B sales cycle tends to be a bit longer than a B2C, which tends to be more transactional. So I think events is a great additional touch point that B2Bs can use to connect with customers and potential customers. So we had a question from the audience, which I think is relevant and would be a good next question. How can I drive attendance to my virtual events? So obviously, I think we've shown the value of having the event set up, but what tips do you have for folks that want to drive more traffic and more attendees so we get them in the top of the funnel?
Absolutely. So I definitely recommend using Eventbrite to host your event there. And of course, if your event is free, then it's free to utilize that platform. Why I suggest Eventbrite is because for two reasons. One is very search friendly, and it's a site that is very SEO friendly with Google, and it's a site itself that people visit to look for events. So when you're looking for people that may be interested, people are typing in eventbrite.com literally to see what types of events are taking place. And right now they've completely switched their platform to showing the online events that are taking place, of course, because there are so few in-person events that are happening. Secondly, it's a way that if folks are searching certain types of keywords into Google and you actually put together your listing in a way that is very SEO friendly, your event could be discovered by potential attendees who are searching for keywords that relate to your industry or event. Also, Eventbrite is a great platform because it actually integrates with a host of other social media sites. It integrates with Facebook, and Facebook also has an event site as well. So if your business has a Facebook page, you can integrate your Eventbrite event into your Facebook page and actually get more eyeballs on your event listing from Facebook. So you can send traffic over from your Facebook to the actual Eventbrite platform. There's some other sites that you can integrate your Eventbrite listing with, including goldstar.com, depending on your event. Gold Star is a site that will push your event to sites like Groupon and other event listing sites. And so you'll actually be sending through the intermediary of Gold Star, you're actually sending those people over to your Eventbrite listing. So Eventbrite does work on an algorithm very similar to, social media sites. So the more traffic you're able to get from social media promotion and other third-party promotion, you can actually send all of those people to your page, and that will increase engagement on the page and therefore push it up in the search. So it's more easy to be found on Eventbrite by folks who are visiting the site. So I would
And
definitely encourage you, use social media, use your email list as well to promote your event.
that's all free.
And that's all free if your event is free. Now, Eventbrite, if your event it has a cost, they do take a percentage of your sales.
Got it. So I know you mentioned Gold Star, Eventbrite. What are there any other resources that you would recommend to folks looking to set up events?
So definitely Facebook as well. Facebook does have a search, and people do search for events on that platform as well. You really want to think about, for your audience that you're trying to attract, where do they hang out online? You want to focus on being found. How would that person go about where they hang out online, and how can I make my event visible on that platform so I'm found by the people I want to find me, essentially? So there's some places that I think in general, like the ones I mentioned, are a general ways to be found by anyone. But I do think some of that takes a little bit of specialized understanding about your audience and their habits and knowing where they are. Also, if you've already been getting contact information for your customers, you can definitely email them, text them, let them know about the event, send them the link to register. If you want to do Facebook ads, there's something pretty cool you can do. There's a couple of different options and ways that you can increase your ad spend. So you can do some things if you already have a pretty substantial contact list. You can actually create kind of like a mirror or lookalike audience, as Facebook calls it, and actually send your do an ad around your event and make sure it's visible to people who are very similar to the audience that you already have. You can also do things, Eventbrite has an integration with Facebook ads where you can, for the people who register for your event, if they don't actually complete the registration, you can retarget them with your ad. So there's a lot of like automation, if you are able and willing to put some money behind it, that you can do to target people who are similar to your current audience, as well as target people who are already part of your current audience through automated ads as well.
Got it. Thank you. That's helpful. So if I have a little money to spend, these are like some ways I can kind of boost that small amount of money.
Absolutely.
So now that I've had my event, I've driven people to my event. What should I do next? I know you mentioned continuing to reach out to those folks. What are some really good communication strategies to keep people engaged?
Well, you definitely, after the event, if you're able to, or if this is something that's you're okay with, sending out a replay for those, because sometimes people are not able to join live, but they may still be interested in the content. So of course you can send a follow-up email with content or any resources that were mentioned within the same day or the day after the event. Afterward, depending on what your current communications or marketing strategies are, you want to begin to incorporate those people who registered for your event, especially the folks who are new, into your current marketing strategy. So if you send out weekly email communications, you want to start to incorporate those folks into your email communications. If you send any text messages, you want to start incorporating them into that. It's possible also with Eventbrite to possibly ask questions around people's social media handles. So you can engage with your audience on social media. Perhaps you may want to start to follow them online or check out some of their pages and engage them there. You want to really think about, how can I increase the amount of times that I am having interaction with this person or with this segment of people. And yeah, definitely incorporating them into your existing or growing marketing strategy is super important in doing that. You don't want it to end right at that event.
So I know you mentioned Spotify having a virtual event set up. Are there any other virtual events you recommend our audience to attend or to check out?
Well, I think their Eventbrite, like looking at Eventbrite, it's very good to understand the different types of structures that people are doing. Another organization that I've seen do something pretty cool is a book publisher located out of Chicago called Haymarket Books, and they are an independent book publisher. So what they had been doing in Chicago is actually having these events with authors. The topics of their books typically revolve around social issues, politics, matters like that. And so they would have speakers come into this space and invite the community to come. And that was how they sold books and kind of got exposure for the author. And so they basically switched that entire model online, and they've grown their audience exponentially because now they mostly do their live conversations on YouTube now. So they're able to use that platform to attract a wide audience. I heard about them, and I'm all the way in Georgia. And of course, I don't live in Chicago, so I would not have attended any of their events. So those types of models are really awesome for B2Bs. This isn't something I've personally seen happen with B2Bs because I'm not seeing so many B2Bs do these digital events. So that's how I know that there's a gap for B2Bs who want to start to take advantage of this space, but there is opportunity for partnership. So if you're a B2B and you have a B2C that you supply to, you could partner, and that B2C maybe has a sizable audience. You could definitely do some event styles around marketing, or excuse me, partnering with that B2C. So perhaps if you want to do an event to talk about some of the changes that are happening within the supply chain at your organization and some of the things that you're specifically doing, you can have a leader from your organization be part of that event, and then also have someone who is a current customer of yours and have them kind of reinforce how your changes are helping their business. So it's kind of a way to share information, but it's strategic because you're also sharing kind of like testimonial information. You're having a satisfied customer join you, but you're also able to have exposure to that B2C's audience. And then you're inviting their audience to know about you, because maybe they didn't know that B2C got their supply from your organization. So a partnership is a big thing to think about as well, especially if you're a new brand and you don't have a large audience just yet. You can think about who else can I partner with and possibly get access to their audience while providing mutual benefit.
Yeah, I love that idea. That's really interesting. So we had another question from the audience from Marielle. Do you have any recommendations on how to keep customers engaged during the event? It's live Q&A would be one. Anything else?
Yes, I would recommend a book that I recently read. It's called The Art of Gathering by Priya Parker. So that's The Art of Gathering by Priya Parker. And the book actually focuses on hosting in-person events. But when I actually read the book, I realized all of these things that were kind of mentioned as do's and don'ts for hosting a gathering could definitely easily be used in online events. And so some of the things that she suggests is not starting an event with logistics or ending an event with logistics. So as opposed to starting off kind of saying, well, this is what we're going to be doing today. You can start off with an icebreaker activity or something. If you're doing something in this style and you're not communicating with your audience in the same way, you could do something with the guest to engage them. Tell us something fun about yourself. Or there's ways that you kind of, people are going to expect events to kind of go in a certain format. And when you're trying to capture attention, that's a great question, because there are a lot of people putting out content right now. So it's kind of like, what can you do that will kind of be a little bit unexpected that would keep this person engaged? But I also think the topics that you choose throughout the to actually choose around the event is very important as well, because if it's a topic that people are very much interested in, they will be engaged to stay. Also audience engagement, so taking audience questions, having people participate. If you have a chat, having them participate in the chat. Try to keep them active in the conversation, even if you can't actually see them. Utilizing that chat box for sure, I have found to be effective. Asking questions throughout, taking comments, shouting people out, that always makes them feel good. If you can say, so and so from Georgia asked this question, that makes people feel seen and heard. And though you actually cannot see them, they feel seen. So those are some tips and tricks you can definitely use to keep people engaged.
That's great. So this week, Alibaba.com actually hosted our own first virtual trade show for the home and health category. So we're actively promoting suppliers and driving buyers that are looking for those specific categories. And one thing that we've done is sort of create a content repository of videos from our suppliers, from our customers, talking about how excited they are to go virtual at this event. And I think it's kind of a nice way to sort of wrap it all up and have a content repository that people can view while they're at your virtual event and sort of browse.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know some platforms are experimenting with breakout rooms, things like that. So if there's ways that, you can segment attendees together so they can see each other and talk and network with one another. Those are sometimes, like, having all of those different logistics can be challenging, especially if it's your first time, but it may be worth practicing and figuring out ways that you can try some different things, utilize technology in a different way also.
Great, thank you. So we're coming up on a half an hour. I just wanted to ask a few more questions about you and how, you're a small business owner, an entrepreneur, and how are you staying hopeful and positive? And how have you changed your business in the past few weeks?
I think my business model itself is still pretty much the same, but I've made a lot of changes to kind of the way that I present information about what it is that I do. Because I realize I don't have the opportunity to talk to people about what I do. I'm not there in the past. A lot of times, the ways that I've gotten clients is by meeting people, going to networking events, things like that, and those aren't really happening right now. So I realized that my digital presence and the way that I explain the things that I offer and the things that I do are very important. So that is something that I've been placing a lot of time just going through that, getting feedback from customers and from business owners to make sure that does this work for you? Is my website easy to navigate? Those are some changes and things that I have been making that I would encourage everyone. It's like, it's definitely a time to take inventory. Does this work? Does this communicate? Is my payment process easy enough? Because more people are online now. For me, also, I've been staying inspired by just being a student. Like, I think this is the perfect time to just be a student, take some time to learn, listen to other folks in your field, observe, see how they're responding to this, see what some industry leaders are suggesting. I'm just absorbing and being a sponge and listening to information, because none of us really 100% know. But you do see certain businesses seeming to kind of like excel in this period, and I'm just looking at them like, well, what are they doing that's just working for them? And they probably don't even know, or they probably may know now, but they didn't know that, their business had been designed in such a way that it could survive something like this. So I think that it's so important to be a student right now, to be a student and constantly make iterations as you get more information. And the online events are great because you get feedback. You see what you do your first online event, you see what worked, what didn't work, what tweaks you may want to make to your process moving forward, and then you're constantly refining it, and you're going to get more success over time.
Great, I love that advice. That's wonderful. So Angel, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Absolutely.
And thank you to our audience, and thank you for all the good questions. And hopefully we'll see you at a future virtual fireside chat. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.